Hey guys, it's Janis. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about 5 key components I think every law personal statement should have, and this is kind of just in reference to my own personal statement from back in the day. That statement got me into the next round of application for UCL, Cambridge, Durham, King's, and Warwick, and so of course there's a lot of other factors determining whether or not you get into the university, but this did get me into the next stage for all of those universities. So I'm just going to share with you guys the 5 main components in it. In a personal statement, everyone's going to be talking about how interested and competent and passionate they are, but to really stand out, you have to be able to prove these assertions. So we're going to be talking about law-related activities, law-related skills, law-related books, movies, and research, and also any extra skills you have that are not necessarily related to law, and finally, any career aspirations you have. So first of all is law-related activities, and this is normally the first part of your essay because it really is the part that proves your passion and interest about the subject. And so the main thing here is to not just say that you're passionate, but to prove it with evidence. And for example, here I'm talking about joining a law course at a certain university. And instead of just saying I did this thing, I'm also discussing it in very much detail. So I'm talking about what exactly we learned, which was the UDRP, and also how that learning process made me realize I wanted to study law. So I thought like the nuances in a certain rule were very interesting and just stuff like that. So I'm actually proving that I did learn something during the course and that was very impactful in my life. Aside from law courses, other activities you might want to talk about include mooting competitions, mock trials, pro bono work, or other kinds of volunteering that relates to like social issues. And so it's good as long as you can talk about why this activity interested you and give very specific examples of what you learned during the activity. For example, if you attended a court visit, then what exactly stood out about the court visit, and did you learn something that you wouldn't have learned otherwise? Make sure to be very specific and give very full examples so that it really proves your passion for law. The next part is law-related skills, and in the previous section you already proved your passion for law, so now you're trying to prove your competence to study law. And so aside from just saying that you're competent, of course, again, you have to give examples. Some examples you can use are prizes or elections that you've won during high school. And also you should talk about what things you've done that prove that you have the very specific skill set that lawyers need. And those skills include good logical reasoning, close attention to detail, researching abilities, being aware of small nuances, etc. So if you can give a specific example about how you have these skills, then you can really prove to the person reading it that you are competent enough to study this quite difficult subject. For example, I'm talking about a literature paper I did and how it proves that I have research skills and the ability to use very complex lines of reasoning. The next part is about law-related books, movies, and research, and this is not very common, I think, in personal statements, but it is a very good thing to add as it kills two birds with one stone. So you talk about these books and movies you've seen, which proves that you're very interested in law, but you also engage with the legal issues that come up in those books and movies, and that, in a way, proves that you have critical thinking skills, and you can also prove your logical reasoning during that paragraph. And so here, I'm discussing several books that I've read, and you don't just name drop the book. So aside from just naming it, you talk about what arguments it made, and then you talk about how you feel about those arguments. And so, for example, I read a book called Against the Law, and I talk about how and why I agreed with some of the arguments they posed in that book. Remember to actively engage with the content of the book to prove that you really can think for yourself. The same goes for talking about documentaries or movies that you watched. And here I'm talking about I'm Jane Doe, which focuses on the US legislation, the Communications Decency Act. And by talking about US law, even though I'm applying to a UK school, it just kind of shows that I did read about both UK and international law before coming, and so that further proves my interest in law in general. The next part is about other skills, and this relates not exactly to law, but rather to being a human in general. So you're talking about what makes you a well-rounded person, basically. And since it's not really related to law, you put it in at the very end or near the end of your personal statement. And I think the good thing to note here is that even though the skills don't necessarily relate to law, it still should sort of relate to being a lawyer or something along those lines. So if you just talk about sports and arts without relating it to a certain characteristic, then that's not very relevant. But if you can link it to a good personal attribute like endurance or determination, then you can talk about like very vague skills like sports skills or arts skills. But again, it's better if it relates to some part of being a lawyer. And so some good attributes I can think of are good business sense, passion to help the vulnerable, good negotiation skills, good time management, leadership skills, being able to work well under stress, and being able to form connections with other people. So when writing a personal statement, you should take some time to brainstorm about what things you do in your life, volunteering or extracurricular activities, and think about how it relates to one of these skills. So for me, I talked about my YouTube channel and I talked about what I learned from it. So I guess I would have learned business skills from running a YouTube channel. And I also talk about any volunteering and mission trips I went on. And that really talks about my motivation for studying law in a way. And so as long as these things kind of relate to you as a person, you can put them in. And this is just near the end of the essay instead of at the very top, as it's not exactly relevant to law. The last paragraph is about career aspirations. And to be fair, as a person who's not even in university yet, no one expects you to like know what you want to do in the future. So this is not like a very concrete career plan path thing. Rather, you just want to throw out some options to prove that you have thought about how law can be a career. And so here I talked about my quote unquote aspiration to be like a solicitor in a private international firm, or do postgraduate study, or work in arbitration, or work in international human rights law and criminal law. And so I'm not really saying what I want to do in the future, but I'm just throwing these things out to show that I do know what lawyers do. And this also further proves my motivation for studying law. So even if you don't really know what you want to do, it's good to have one paragraph in the end showing that you have given this a little bit of thought. And this really proves that you're very serious about studying law. So I still think it's a good thing to put at the very end of your essay. And with that, that completes my video. I hope this video was somewhat useful for all of you guys who are starting to write your personal statements for UCAS. And just relax. Even though it is a big part of the admissions process, it's not everything. And so just do the best you can, and I'm sure all of you will do great. So if you guys have any more questions, you can ask me in the comment section below, and also tell me what videos you guys would like to see next. And again, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thanks for watching, and bye!